chilling in the Sala with Irvin Benitez. Irvin is the creator of Brunch Bounce, a nightlife alternative that hosts some of the hottest daytime parties. He's also a co-founder to the Greatest Day Ever Festival, which after a successful debut last year, is set to make history again in 2 cities, hitting up Wynwood, Miami in May and Brooklyn, New York in July. Irvin is a modern-day businessman. He saw a need, filled the void, and has seen social media prove his product's value. This is his story. Irvin, thank you for chilling with us in the Sala.
Thanks for having me.
So 5 years ago, what were you doing? What was the pursuit like?
5 years ago, I was the director of marketing and events for CIM Productions, which is a promotion company. They do a lot of parties. They were doing at the time a lot of parties, the bigger parties in New York.
And then how did that lead to Brunch Bounce?
You know, a couple of years ago, there was a downturn in the economy, so I ended up leaving there and ended up in mortgage banking. I had ran into a friend at a barbecue, said, hey, what are you doing? You know, how's money going? How's work going?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, you know, I'm over at the bank now and there's an opportunity there. If you want to come jump on, you can make a ton of money. I said, I like money, let's do it. So I was doing mortgage banking and doing Brunch Bounce simultaneously. And eventually you just kind of follow your heart and your passion and just do what you love, right? So I've left mortgage banking. And I'm now dedicated full-time to Brunch Bounce and the Greatest Day Ever. So I think while I was banking, I just kind of always had it in me to create and ideate and just come up with things, you know. And also I'm a Virgo. I like to say that, you know, I'm a Virgo, so I'm curious by nature and how things work, and I like creating, you know. So all those things kind of stirred in a pot all together. Just came up with Brunch Bounce. I was hanging out with some friends uptown one day, and I had grown up, you know, New York City has all these different areas where different things happen, right? So downtown, in the meatpacking district, they do a lot of day parties. So I had gone uptown, there was nothing going on really. So I said, you know, it would be cool, a day party here. You know, uptown Washington Heights, a lot of Dominican culture. And so I've been going there since I was, I don't know, 14, 15. I was going up there all my life between Queens and Uptown, hanging out up there. So I said, you know, let's party up here. Let's just have a good time. So I approached the owner of a venue, and he liked the idea, and it was born. So, and it really, I didn't expect anything of it. I just wanted to kind of have something to do, whether let's say on a monthly basis, and just connect with some friends that I don't get to see as often because we don't club as much as we used to.
Right.
And it was just an alternative.
When you were saying that the market crashed and then you got into banking, how did you adapt to change at that time? Were you all for it, or was there a part of you that didn't want to give up the lifestyle that you'd grown accustomed to, and you know you were in a very creative environment, to then go to something a little bit more rigid?
Sure. It was a little bit different, of course, but at the time, me, like a lot of people, you know, you have, you know, what was going on in the world and the economy. You're just like, okay, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my rent, my mortgage, what have you? And just do what you got to do, you know. I think that part of my upbringing, my parents, they inspired me because they did whatever needed to be done to make sure there was food on the table, clothes on our back, and everything like that. So I don't ever think that I'm above anything. So at that time, it was like, all right, I'm going to do this because it'll help me, you know, financially, and I'm going to be as creative as possible.
Yeah.
And that's how I moved up so quickly and went into mortgage banking and everything. And I did. I made some, you know, good money, and I was happy, but I wasn't genuinely happy, you know. So it just got to the point where I said, well, you know, when you do mortgage banking, you're primarily mostly paid on commission. So in essence, you're chasing a check. So I said, all right, Brunch Bounce has gotten as far as it's gotten, and I've been doing it quote unquote part-time. You know, when I come, you know, I can do but only so much during the daytime, and then at night I'll be up to like 2, 3 in the morning, but you can't make calls to corporate America at 2, 3 in the morning, obviously. So I said, all right, if I've gotten this far doing it part-time, imagine if I dedicated myself to it full-time, you know? So I said, all right, let's just take this leap of faith and let's do this. Let's dedicate ourselves to it full-time, you know? This is me talking to myself.
Oh yeah,
I do that.
You have to have those conversations with yourself.
I answer myself. That's what I do. No, but I just decided to take that leap of faith. You know, I believe in it. I believe in it's a good product. I mean, you always think like I do, and I think people should in general. If you want to do something, you know, you think of it in a worst case scenario way. all right, if this doesn't work, what's the worst case scenario? What can happen? Like for me, it's like, okay, I have a degree, I can get a job, you know, and you know, I have banking experience, I can go back to banking. And three, I'm not above anything.
So it was really like this idea came from just observing your environment,
Sure.
knowing what you like, knowing what people that you were around liked, and recognizing that no one was catering to that community.
Exactly.
So
we took off from there, and it just was one event after the other, month to month, and it just grew very organically, and it just became a viral thing. It was, you know, I invited my friends, they invited their friends, and so on and so forth, and it was just like, you know, an open arm environment. For us, it's just a matter of just steering clear of any pretentiousness and having like an open door policy, if you will. Like nobody's better than anybody else. Just come in, hang out, have some drinks, meet new people, have a good time, listen to cool music. And it just really took off beyond my wildest expectations.
and this is like a 21st century marketing push that's happened, because you were saying like you don't necessarily even have to like invest in marketing, because social media has been your marketing ticket. So people have found out about it either through their friends or through social media. So that's
Sure.
also something that corporate America really can take view of.
Well, I hope they do. so they can come pay for it.
Tune in now.
You know? What I like to say is that the cool thing about social media is that, you know, when you get a printed flyer, I can write whatever I want on that flyer. I can design a poster, I can say whatever I want on that poster. You may or may not believe me. However, now if you're on social media and you're seeing different people comment on that, you know, event, and or that they're going to that event, by default you're naturally curious. And once they, even if you don't go the time that you hear about it, once it's said and done and people are kind of like recapping and saying how awesome it was, now the next time it comes around, you're like, okay, wait, it gives it more validity. It's like, it's just testimonial, and it's a streaming testimonial in this case.
So now, one of the things also that I was talking about with you is that you didn't really anticipate, and you even mentioned it, that Brunch Bounce would be where it is today. So let's sort of speak about the process of like just having an idea and bringing it to conception and allowing it to organically become what it's meant to be. Because I think people always want to like, well, I don't know where it's going to go if I try this. So you guys are a testament to just go in and like have a good time and really have a passion for something and see where it leads you.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the worst things you can do in life is have a fear of failure, because then you'll never try anything. You just stifle yourself. So, I mean, by default, it just got to a point where it's like, all right, it's gotten this far, let's see how far we can take it. It worked this month, let's try it again next month, and let's keep going and going. It just was a rolling effect. So, you know, I think that eventually got to the point where we started taking greater and greater risks. Some worked, some didn't, but for the most part they did. You know, why not keep going? Why not keep striving and just start setting loftier goals and bigger expectations for ourselves and working harder ultimately. But up until this point, everything we've done on our own. Everything. We've done everything on our own with, you know, just support of the people. And I think that you do things to the point where people take notice. Like they'll take notice. You don't necessarily have to force it on them. They'll see it. They'll know.
Yeah, what do they say? The cream always rises to the top.
Absolutely. So, you know, waiting for that knock. If it comes, cool. If it doesn't, that's cool also.
So one of the things that you mentioned to me is that you used up-and-coming DJs
Sure.
for Brunch Bounce.
Sure.
And that's been very unique also because of the following that you guys have amassed without having to go to the most popular DJs or the radio stations and stuff like that. So you, and whether you decided to or not, you've been putting people on and helping them get their own following.
Sure.
So was there, and creating those opportunities, so was there a time that you can recall that you sort of were like, damn, I just want that opportunity, I just want someone to open a door for me? Or are you still in that space where you're still kind of like, open the door?
I do. I am in that space because, you know, I get very Kanye about it. I get frustrated at times, you know, I'm human, you know, and I see the things that companies invest money into, and I'm just sitting here like seriously, like why? You know, like I just don't see the return on investment, you know, and I feel like what we do, not even in a in an arrogant way, but seriously, like we're looking at it analytically from a business standpoint, like I know that they can get more value, out of being a part of what we're doing as opposed to what they do. A lot of times I see brands spend money on something and it's just like, let's just throw the biggest name, the hottest artist, and people will go to that event and they'll walk away from it saying, hey, that artist event was cool, not that brand event was cool. That's the difference, right? So, if we can come together and do something for that brand in an organic and very real way. It doesn't feel contrived, doesn't feel forced. Like, I go to a lot of brand events and I'm just always like looking at it. It's hard for me not to go into events and I'm like, where are the wires going? Where's the setup of the stage that's taking so long? Oh, they have a banner here, they have a banner there. And I'm looking at all those things, but overall I'm looking, okay, what were they looking to achieve with this event, with the $1 million they threw into this? Did they hit that? And I don't know. It's frustrating in that regard, and I do hope that eventually someone does take notice. But like I said, if they don't, that's cool. We're going to keep going, and we're going to keep doing it until we can't afford to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, actually, that makes me think of two things. One, so then you've got a business going, but I feel like you're also a student as you continue with this process and everywhere that you go. And how important do you think it is as a businessman and as an entrepreneur to continue to study the craft and to study what you're involved in so that you can expand your knowledge and your control almost? Sure.
Well, I mean, I don't think that everybody that does an event or does anything for that matter is always, creating a wheel or, like creating something new. I think sometimes people are afraid to do things because they're like, oh, that already exists. I can't do that, But one of the cool things you can do is take an idea or take something and build upon it. So when I walk into different events, I'm like, all right, cool, they have this, they have that. I'm like, that would be cool, but maybe we can flip it and do it this way, So you can always learn. Obviously, you're going to go to these events and see things happening and take them and make them your own.
How do you feel about competition in your field? There's no competition. Go ahead, Kanye, do it. I mean, it's okay.
Nah, people tell me, oh, you're too humble for your own good, but I'm just like, that's just the way I am. I mean, the way I started off, and I had friends that were like, yeah, that's a cool idea, go for it. Somebody else could have friends that are like, hey, that's a cool idea, go for it, or you can do that. And that's cool. Like, go for it, knock yourself out. I see what else, the things that are going on. I see what's happening. I see what works, what doesn't, in terms of other people's events and things like that. But I honestly just focus on, I can't control that. I can't control who decides to do what we do or something like it. I can't control that at all. I can't stop anybody, So I just focus on making our product as solid as possible so that people come in and they feel the difference. Like, they understand, like, okay, this is different.
What is your definition of success, and do you feel like you can say right now that you're successful?
Wow. I would say the fact that I've gone after the things that scare me the most is success in itself. Like, there's just like a healthy fear in everyone, and it's good. It's a good thing. Right? You shouldn't do stuff that doesn't scare you. That's the way I look at it now. If it's like, well, I could do that in my sleep, what's the point? Isn't the thrill in doing something that scared you and completing it successfully? So I think that putting together a string of things that we've done that have scared me and getting through them and them being actually pretty decent is success to me. I think that there's still a long way to go. You see all these festivals all over the world that are 70,000, 100,000 people, but I don't think, okay, that's happening, I couldn't possibly do that. No, I think, why can't I do that, right? Yeah. So that's what we're striving for, to eventually get to that level, hopefully. And if not, at least I can look back 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now and say, hey, I tried, I went for it, I really did, and for whatever reason it didn't pan out. But if I don't do it, I feel like I'll be really, really mad at myself and just look back and just say, should have went left instead of going right, so to me, that's a success in itself, just in attempting to do things that you know, in your mind would be awesome to do.
Yeah.
And even if you fail at it, it's just like, I did it though, I tried, you know.
So you're succeeding.
I'm in the process.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for chilling with us in the Sala. Thank you guys for hanging, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
I definitely reached the point where I was very afraid, and I didn't know, you know, is this something that I really, how am I gonna do this? But I think that was before photography. Like once I found it, I think once I realized like, wow, like this is it, the fear really like went away organically. Like I kind of stopped focusing on what people were gonna perceive of it, and I started focusing on just creating.